To the 12 tribes of the children of Israel in all countries of the earth, in the name of Jehovah, our Creator, and Jesus Christ of Nazareth, our Redeemer, I'm bringing you greeting. And this is Lily of the Valley. And today we're going to look at the satanic origins of planets or solar systems and why you shouldn't be teaching your children except to stay away from it. Don't have these things in their room, in their lunch pans, on their clothes, because these things have origins in idolatry. So this is a picture of what is called the solar system or planet names. Notice the word planet does not appear in the Holy Bible. Our forefathers, and I'm talking for the children of Israel, are Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, also called Israel. They were skilled in the sciences and skilled in the knowledge of Jehovah. So we take our knowledge from the patriarchs, from Adam, all the way down to the saints, and Jesus Christ, who is the Jehovah in the flesh, in the earth. So he teaches us not to worship the hosts of heaven. So you'll find that a lot of Greco-Romans, Phoenicians, Arabs, and so on, they have moon, star, sun, Ashkenazi. Even on the Ethiopian flag, some of the Hamites, they'll have a lot of the hosts of heaven, which the Most High said don't have any other gods beside him. In the Bible, it says, in the beginning, the Most High made the heavens and the earth. Notice earth is singular. In a lot of Mahometan religion, they have many earths, which there's no such thing. In Greco-Roman philosophy, they have many planets, which has to do with the doctrines of devils, which is why they have the earth calculated in terms of millions and billions of years old, and that's why their science and their scientists are always wrong. So we're going to look at the Phoenicians, because that's where the worship of planets come from. So Phoenice, or Phoenicia, land of palm trees, a tract of country of which Tyre and Sidon were principal cities to the north of Palestine along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, bounded by that sea on the west and by the mountain range of Lebanon on the east. The name was not the one by which its native inhabitants called it, but it was given to it by the Greeks from the Greek word for the palm tree. The native name of Phoenicia was Canaan or No, signifying lowland, so named in contrast to the adjoining Aram, that is highland, the Hebrew name of Syria. So we're going to look at their religion, okay? The religion of the Phoenicians opposed monotheism. And you know the Israelites were monotheists because we only worship our Creator. It was a pantheistical personification of the forces of nature, and in its most philosophical shadowing forth of the supreme powers, it may be said to have represented the male and female principles of production. In its popular form, it was especially a worship of the sun, moon, and 5 planets, or as it might have been expressed according to ancient notions of the 7 planets, the most beautiful and perhaps the most natural form of idolatry ever represented to the human imagination. So this idolatry is what they spread as science these days, and it has to do with sorcery. And from the ancient Phoenicians, their worship was a constant temptation for the Hebrews to polytheism and idolatry. So you see a lot of our people now teaching these things in schools, and we need to get it out of our textbooks. Only if you're teaching idolatry and to teach your children what to stay away from, you warn them of these things, but don't teach them that these things exist, because it's going to help them to lose their salvation. Because undoubtedly the Phoenicians, as a great commercial people, were more generally intelligent, and as we should now say civilized, than the inland agricultural population of Palestine. When the simple-minded Jews therefore came in contact with a people more versatile and apparently more enlightened than themselves, but who nevertheless either in a philosophical or in a popular form admitted a system of polytheism and influence would be exerted on Jewish minds, tending to make them regard their exclusive devotion to their own one God, Jehovah, however translucent his attributes, as unsocial and morose. The Phoenician religion had in other respects an injurious effect on the people of Palestine, being in some points essentially demoralizing. For example, it sanctioned the dreadful superstition of burning children as sacrifices to a Phoenician god. Again, parts of the Phoenician religion, especially the worship of Astarte, tended to encourage dissoluteness in the relations of the sexes and even to sanction impurities of the most abominable description. And you know what they say in the Bible are abominations. Okay. So the Phoenicians and their planets, I was reading from the Nelson Bible Dictionary, this one. Okay. So how that ties in with sorcery, it has to do with how it's another form of idolatry where the Romans, Grecians, Phoenicians, Egyptians, they worship their standards. So standards in the Nelson Bible Dictionary is on page 649. And when I say standard, it can have more than one definition, because you know how English go. But in this instance, standards mean flags, or the things they put on their flagpoles, or the things that they worship. Okay, so standards, the Assyrian standards were emblematic of their religion and were therefore the more valuable as in instruments for leading and guiding men in the army. The forms were imitations of animals, emblems of deities, symbols of power and wisdom. Many of them were crude, but others were highly artistic and of great cost. So we, the Hebrews, we have standards too, but we don't worship standards or idols, and our standards were different. So like you'll see the high priest had the symbols of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. So that was something that we had to identify us differently from other nations. So you see the Assyrian standards there, and they worshipped a whole bunch of images. And you see when Jerusalem was trodden down by the armies of Titus and Vespasian, when they brought these idols with them, most of them have the eagle, then that's when you see the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place. When you see the Temple Mount there with the star for the Mahometans and the Saracens, that's the same thing. When you see the Baha'i over there with their idols in the Holy Land, the same thing. When you see the Ashkenazis with the six-pointed star of Remphan, those are the same thing as idols. The Egyptian standards were decided in the same idea as those of the Romans, exhibiting some sacred emblem, 5, 6, and 8. So you see 5 there, 6, and 8. That's number 8. Don't know if you can see it clearly, but that's 8. Some sacred emblem or a god in the form of an animal, which in today's day that would be the eagle or group of victory, the king's name or his portrait as of Lower and Upper Egypt, or an emblemic sign as number 9. That's why you see a lot of ministers of government now, they have their portraits. And even in China, they tell you to worship the portrait of their people and not the Bible. So this is how idolatry gets permeated through governments. And a lot of the governments of the earth, they serve Satan. Because the Most High say, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. And we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness in high places and dominions and powers and thrones. But all of them, they're going to have to submit to Jesus Christ of Nazareth, because he's the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. And that's listed in Psalm 2. And he's coming to conquer all of them, and put idolatry out of the earth for good in Revelation. So notice a lot of the planets, they have pagan names or idols. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. All those are pagans. Notice when you see Hades and Cerberus and those things, those comes out of Greek and Roman mythology. Some of them, the Greeks and the Romans combined their religion to make one, so they combine idol upon idol. So how it's still in today's date now, you see a lot of nations, they still worship their flags. So this is www.academia.edu, and you can look up flags in national anthems revisited. So some of them still worship their flags or their standards to this day, like the United States of America, because they descend from the Edomites, the Grecians, the Romans, and the ancient Japhethites. So you will see in the United States national anthem, it's to their flag, the Star Spangled Banner. It doesn't say to Jehovah, the creator of heaven and earth. It says to the flag. That's what the United States flag is called. So you can read it when you get a chance, okay? So, O say, can you see by the dawn's early lights what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, or the ramparts we watched so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare and the bombs bursting in the air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. O say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? So this is a worship of flag. It's idolatry. Okay, and healing of the war. Remember, the Most High say, those who live by the sword is going to die by the sword. And that's what a lot of the Greco-Roman countries do. It's war everywhere and war every day. But this comes from their foreparents, because they were warriors. The Alexander the Greats, the Titus, the Vespasian, the King Leopolds of Belgium, the Hitlers, all of those people share the same common bloodline. The destruction of the Indies, you can refer to Bartholomew de las Casas, this transatlantic slave trade, the roads of the Grecian, the Romans, the Arabs, and a lot of the Arabs, they're also mixed with Edomite blood because Esau married one of Ishmael's daughters. Okay? So that's where they get the mixed races from. And you see the sword. They have the sword on their flags in Saudi Arabia, and they have the eagle on their standard in America and as their emblem. So you can read Obadiah for more information on those who make their nests among the stars. And they always have these telescopes, like the Catholic Church, they're Romans. That's where they get those telescopes from. They're always looking at the stars, studying stars, worshiping stars, and having idols, which is against the 10 Commandments, okay? So, the word of the Lord came to Zephaniah, the son of Cushi, the son of Gedaliah, the son of Amariah, and the son of Hezekiah, in the days of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Judah. I will utterly consume all things of the land, saith the Lord. I will consume man and beast. I will consume the fowls of heaven and the fishes of the sea and the stumbling blocks to the wicked, with the wicked. And I will cut off man from off the land, saith the Lord. I will also stretch out mine hand upon Judah and upon all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and I will cut off the remnant of Baal from this place, and the name of the Chemarims with the priests, and them that worship the host of heaven upon the housetops, and them that worship and swear by the Lord, and that swear by Malcham, and them that are turned back from the Lord, and those that have not sought the Lord nor inquired of him. Hold thy peace at the presence of the Lord, for the day of the Lord is at hand, for the Lord hath prepared a sacrifice. He hath bid his guests. And it shall come to pass in the day of the Lord's sacrifice that will punish the princes and the king's children, and such as all clothes with strange apparel. So the day of the Most High sacrifice is coming for the atheists, the idolaters, the stargazers, You see, them that are turned back from the Lord, those who have lost their faith and have turned to doctrines of devils, ex-pastors who are now atheists and idolaters, pushing Kemet, pushing evolution. So all of these things that you see are science falsely so called is why they're always wrong. That's why you'll have a little child can speak the prophecies of the scripture if they're righteous and holy and be more accurate than even the brightest people or the so-called scientists in the earth. So the 10 countries with the most atheists of the world, you have them pushing now this climate change. Well, climate change was prophesied more than 7,000 years ago, or close to that time, from the days of Adam till now. The Most High already told you that destruction for idolatry and abortion and liberalism and degeneracy and abominations and transgenderism and murder and robbery and rape and stealing and killing and not honoring the Sabbaths and the holy days and the righteous living and not forgiving, not practicing justice, righteousness, holiness, peace. The people in the earth who consume the most resources and have the most degenerate nations are the same one telling you that climate change is here. Well, where have they been? If they were listening to the Bible from the days of Enoch and Adam and all the prophets and the saints that have gone out and sent this word into the earth, they would have known it was coming and they would have changed their wicked ways and they would have been righteous, because the only thing can save this earth is righteousness. The earth is 3/4 destroyed already. You know, it's on its last leg. But we, the righteous, the saints of the Most High, from the children of Israel, we're going to have a new heaven, a new earth, a new Jerusalem. Look at Revelation 21 and 22. So you have Revelation 2 verse 9, Revelation 3 verse 9. Most of the Ashkenazis in the land of Israel pretending to be the children of Israel are imposters. So they have the most atheists, a lot of them, the biggest homosexual parades. They have abortion spreading, open borders, they spread degeneracy, they use usury, and all the things that the Most High say not to do to destroy people. That's what they put. So the countries with the most atheists in the world. First, number 10, Hong Kong. 52% of the country of atheists. Second, Sweden. The same people going around the world now and telling you that climate change is here. When they were Christian, they used that to plunder the earth and to build up their empires. Now the poor, who didn't even contribute to the destruction of the earth, must pay for it. This is the hypocrisy of these people. So they have the most non-religious people. They have funerals where nobody attends when people die. They just dead. Nobody. So they depend on the government for their survival, and the government is their God, and individualism is their idols that they worship. And I think they remove Christianity from the state religion. But the Israelites who formed all of Europe, all of the East, all of the West, all the Americas, all of Great Britain, all the islands of the earth, we're still going to push for righteousness in the earth, and we're going to be saved, because when our people were even being persecuted by the Edomites, the Caucasians, the Herods, the Caesars, our people fled into the desert, and then the water and the oasis went into the desert to meet them. So we don't worry about Edomites and what they think. We worry about Jehovah and what he thinks. And he's always right, because so far everything in his Bible is coming to pass as he said it would come to pass. So the Czech Republic, 52% atheists. Netherlands, 40%. Notice most of these are Caucasians. You don't have atheists in black countries. UK, 40%. France, 41%. And these are some of the most liberal countries. Vietnam, 33%. Germany, 38%. Japan, 46%. China is number one with 75% of the world's atheists. Notice no black countries on the list, because black people are soul people. We're the children of Israel. So we have souls. So we naturally tend towards righteousness and the Most High, and having a low impact on the earth, recycling, redoing, reusing. We know if it sucks salt out a wooden spoon, them always say in Jamaica. Look at Jamaica. Jamaica has a GDP of 4,000 something, but from that money, we use that to work miracles, signs, and wonders. We have the most educated, skilled people in earth, in every category you can think of. And we have some of the best statistics in the earth, you know, from longevity to peacemaking to judges at the international court to ministers of government worldwide to soldiers to everybody in the skills, builders, everybody. We have them because we are the children of Israel and we can do much more with much less. So why don't they learn righteousness and how to have a lower impact on the earth? It is righteousness that is going to save us. Climate change is caused by sin and idolatry. So going back to the flags story and the planet story, that comes from the Greco-Romans studying these things from ancient days. It says the ideas of planets over history as divine lights of antiquity to the earthly objects of the scientific age. So the 5 classical planets being visible to the naked eye have been known since ancient time and have a significant impact on mythology, religious cosmology, and ancient astronomy. So the mythology is where it comes from. So you notice that they are named after the idols that these Greco-Romans, the Chinese, Babylonians, Muslims worship. Okay. So it said the first civilization known to have a functional theory of the planets were the Babylonians, and you know they were very idolatrous, who lived in Mesopotamia in the 1st and 2nd millennia BC. The oldest surviving planetary astronomical text is the Venus tablet of Ammisaduga. Okay. So they were the ones who came up with these things, and Saturn, and they worship Saturnalia and those things. It has to do with Jupiter. So don't be worshiping those things. Don't have them on your walls. Don't teach them as science, because it's not science. It's science falsely so called, and it's idolatry. So the whole worship of the flag, again, you can see it in the United States Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. So these things are definitely worshiping idols, and we have to cut it out if we want to save the earth and for us to have
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, so pledging allegiance to a flag is idolatry. And remember, we just looked at the standards. That's where it comes from. And the eagle is the standard of the Roman Republic, and Rome is modern day Babylon. Okay. So when you do these things without knowing where it comes from, that's when you see destruction comes upon the land, and you see the degeneracy. You have now the freedom from religion. You have the abortions. Remember, the Phoenicians were also killing their children. All the ancient people who worship these things, they do degenerate things. They were all having things with the sexes that he says are too abominable to mention. But you see it now with the transgenderism, the multi-gender. Gender is not in the Bible. The Most High made sex. Male and female created them 2 sexes, and they're supposed to be virgins and marry each other and then bring forth children, not have sex to abort babies. So you have the people who promote these things. They promote sin on top of sin upon top of sin. So that's where it comes from, because the ancient Romans were pagan. So what they did was incorporate their paganism into Christianity, and that's where you have the Easter eggs with them. All of these holidays like the Christmas tree, Jeremiah 10 tells you don't do those things. So all these ancient birthdays and birthday cakes, all of that have pagan origins. So you see that incorporated in a lot of the churches, the Sunday worship. They don't follow the Bible. They don't read the Bible. They don't dress according to the Bible. You see, Zephaniah said even the king's children are going to be judged according to the way they dress. You see, Negroes and Negroes is now dressing effeminate. You see women walking around naked with their wombs showing. You notice the vaginal area with the womb, and you see them making the vaginal or the womb symbol with their hands. A lot of Rastas do it, a lot of pagans do it, a lot of politicians do it, and you see the women now wearing pants. The most I say, men and women are to be different based on apparel. Women are supposed to wear skirts, dresses, blouses, and things that are women. There's no women pants, no women breeches, no women men's clothes. Men's clothes are different from women. When you look at a man, he's supposed to have his beard, his hair is supposed to be cut low, and women, they're supposed to cover their heads when they pray. And our Bible says we must pray in the spirit at all times. So women are supposed to have bald head looking like men, and men are supposed to have smooth face looking like women, unless there's some reason for it, like what Paul says in Corinthians. But most women are not righteous to that point. They are masculine and the men are feminine, and no effeminate is going to make it into the kingdom of heaven. And the children who are dressed with strange apparel, they're not going to make it either. This is Zephaniah, so don't be worshiping flags. Don't be worshiping or following atheist countries. Don't be following Edomites, Caucasians, Ashkenazis, Arabs who worship stars and moon and planets and all these things. Because of that, the planet is going to spit its inhabitants out to practice these things. So all of this thing right here has to do with Phoenicians and Babylonians and their idols. Okay? So don't be doing those things anymore, and teach your children righteousness. Teach them not to worship the hosts of heaven. Okay? And some people have flags in their anthems, but look how they use it, whether they are worshiping it or pledging allegiance to it. And then if you have countries that are pledging allegiance or worshiping flags, you all need to change it. Okay? It says the full record list of countries with anthems that refers to flags now comprises Albania, Algeria, Antigua and Barbuda, Argentina, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bahamas, Belarus, Belgium, Benin, Bolivia, Brazil, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Comoros, Congo, Brazzaville, Costa Rica, Djibouti, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Fiji, France, Gabon, Ghana, Guatemala, Guinea-Bissau, Haiti, Honduras, Iraq, Italy, Jordan, Kyrgyzstan, Lebanon, Macedonia, Maldives, Mali, Mexico, Monaco, Mozambique, Namibia, Nauru, Nicaragua, Pakistan, Palestine, Paraguay, Peru, Philippines, Portugal, Samoa, Sao Tome and Principe, Saudi Arabia, Seychelles, Somalia, South Sudan, Tajikistan, Tunisia, Turkey, and Northern Cyprus, Turkmenistan, USA, Vietnam, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. So you can listen to the lyrics for each one and see which ones worship their flags and which ones don't. Doesn't mean that though they mention flags, they worship it. But like how the United States has theirs, that's definitely flag worship, because it says, I pledge allegiance. I'm not saying I, but I'm just reading the word that they pledge allegiance to the flag. You don't pledge allegiance to anybody. You don't swear by oaths, nothing by heaven nor by earth. That's what the Bible says. And you only worship the Creator. In Exodus 20, teach your children the 10 commandments, not to have any other God beside Jehovah. Okay? So, that's it. You can look up more planets, and it says a planet is an astronomical body orbiting a star or stellar remnant that's worshiping the hosts of heaven. And that's what those things do. And it comes from the doctrine of devils, because the fallen angels were what taught people these things. And for more information, you can look about that in the book of Enoch. Okay? So mostly it has to do with mythology and science, falsely so-called, because remember, Satan also knows a lot because he was one of the most powerful in heaven before he was cast down. All right, so astrology, don't be studying that. So Abraham and Daniel, they were skilled scientists. All right, they studied astronomy as taught by Jehovah. So the sciences that we, the children of Israel, know is the science taught by Jehovah. And Abraham taught the Egyptian science. You can see Josephus for that. Okay, and you can look at the Bible Origins of Science. It's on my other channel called, I think it's on this same channel. Just scroll down and look at the Bible Origins of Science and medicine and miracle signs, wonders, healing. Because the Most High gave his children the power to speak things into being. That's why once Israelites become righteous and you pray and you start speaking things, it just happens. You don't need to study astrology and mythology and demonic sciences, because those have to do with sorcery and witchcraft, and also it helps the earth to be destroyed. So you see those things, those are named from the Greco-Romans. They had a lot of Pluto and those things. So don't follow the customs of the heathen. Children of Israel, teach righteousness. Don't follow myths. Don't follow fairy tales. Don't follow theory of evolution. Don't follow Big Bang Theory. Don't follow atheists, because these things are what leads to the destruction of the earth and the destruction of nations and to climate change. And the only thing that can cure these problems in the earth is righteousness according to Jehovah, and his righteousness is in the Holy Bible. Keeping the laws, the Sabbaths, the commandments, the ordinances, the judgments, the holy days, the faith of Jesus Christ, and setting up the churches and following the examples of the apostles. Having things in common, taking care of those who are in need and who belong to the family of believers. He says, light has no fellowship with darkness. Come out from among them and be separate. Do not be yoked together with unbelievers and idolaters and people who are abominable or practice abominations. Show them their faults and leave it there. Ezekiel chapter 10 and Ezekiel 33, you show the earth its faults and you leave it there. That's what we've been doing for thousands of years. Our foreparents have done the same thing. We show them their faults, and if they listen, we teach them righteousness. If they don't, you dust off the feet, the dust off your feet, and you move on to the next city. When persecution break out in one city, flee to the next, and have your own communities so that nobody can come in there and come into your schools and teach them all the things that are against the Most High's laws. See, a doctor in England lose his job the other day because according to biology, male and female are what makes human beings, but according to science of demons, gender is whatever. So how are you going to treat somebody medically if gender is whatever, when you give them the wrong thing based on what they say they are as opposed to what you see in front of you and they die? Are they going to come sue the doctor because they have mental problems and eyesight problems and demonic problems? So all doctors, lawyers, all Christians, Hebrews, Israelites, we have to separate ourselves again. Notice we came to the West, separated ourselves into these